Bust it.
They present the popular radio program Political Platform on the Ray Power FM network. Ray Power FM Political Platform, now on television. Keep track of the country's polity and be part of the process as they discuss and put political developments in the country into perspective. It's Ray Power Political Platform on AIT Abuja.
Thank you so much for staying with us on the on Ray Power FM and then on Africa Independent Television. It's a program that we give to you 30 minutes programs of events politically that's happened in the last 24 hours. We are glad you're always there wherever you are listening to us from. We are glad we are able to provide you with the updates on what is happening in Nigeria and the analysis of those events. And the most important aspect of the program is where we also share your views. So wherever you are listening to us, anywhere in the world, share with us what you think about the events in Nigeria. We will be glad to share with the other Nigerians and what you think should be the solution to some of the problems we highlight here. And those gains we have as Democrats now, as a country that is moving on since 1999, those roots we are trying to strengthen so that we can hold the ship of state. You can also tell us what you think about those laudable achievements we have had, and then tell us what you think through political platform at yahoo.com. Political platform at yahoo.com. That's where you can reach us. Okiria Agbonsurem is my name. A whole lot of reactions to the issues of the flooding we talked about in Benue State, the comparison with events outside of Nigeria, particularly in Texas, in the United States of America, and a whole lot of issues. Now we have two major strikes that are on in Nigeria. The doctors, resident doctors are on strike. The hospitals are operating not optimally, where we have the consultants and the nurses, the midwives and the others attending to them, but the majority of the doctors that constitute the majority of the medical hand, talking about the resident doctors, are on strike. And then the universities have been under lock and key. Again, in Nigeria, it's not one that we are not familiar with. Many people in the last couple of years who went through universities, particularly public universities, understand how it feels, what you get when you have a program that will run for 4 years and you run it for up to 8 years. For those doing medicine and the medical field that stay long in school, usually they graduate on the average about 9-10 years in Nigeria instead of the regular 6 years. Now for the upturn time, we have had Nigerians shouting and talking about the need to solve the problems once and for all, but unfortunately it's become a recurrent decimal. We are unable to quickly fix it. Each time we come around the same table, talk the same issues, they are papered, you just paper the cracks, and then we move on. Then they all come back again, and then we are back to the same table. That is where we are. Adebayo Bodurin is with me on the program this morning. Adebayo Bodurin, welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you, Hira. I think...
you want to say which way Nigeria?
Yeah.
You remember Sonny Okosun say which way Nigeria? Each time we talk which way Nigeria, almost every time in the last since independence we say which way Nigeria.
Yeah, it's not just which way Nigeria is, partially in almost all areas. And another cheerful news yesterday was the fact that we are out of recession. But why as much as this is a very, very, very cheerful news and which we should celebrate as a nation, but the critical issue which I think we need not to gloss over is out of recession. Does this signal the end of our problems in the economic sector? Is it already uhuru or not yet uhuru? People are still jobless. A lot of people are contending with those critical issues of disease, ignorance, and lack of shelter. And so these are critical issues that should make us proudly say that we're out of recession. So if we're out of recession, it is time for those in government to sit down and start addressing the critical issues that affect the life of Nigeria. Nigerians must be able to live a comfortable life.
All right.
Nigerians must have shelter. Nigeria must have access to education. Nigeria must have access to health.
All right, Mustafa Mohammed will have which way Nigeria playing now. The same old questions that we have asking, Sonny Okosu have been asking.
Okay, I think the issue of getting out of inflation will be narrowed down to just one specific. The two super ministers, I call them, of the agriculture. You need to know how Nigerians have gone back to the farm, no matter what kind of job they've been doing in the past 2-3 years. I've traveled a lot around Nigeria, and I found that the civil servants, the school teachers, the traders, the policemen, the market women, everybody is going to farm. And this going to farm has really boosted the economy. It's not a magic done by the central bank when they talk about dollars. We know that over 1,000 companies in Nigeria, manufacturing companies, have folded up and they have laid
over the
staff.
years. Yeah.
So there's no magic that came from either the CBN or the Commerce Ministry. We need to commend the two agriculture ministries, the Audu Obe and the other gentleman from the Niger Delta. But then Nigerians also have very short memory. What have the Nigerian government and the state government done to the emergencies in the past 7-8 years around the Boko Haram affected areas? What have the several flooded areas around Jigawa, Kano, Katsina and others in the past few years? We seem to forget the lackadaisical attitude of our various institutions toward these unfortunate parts of Nigeria. Now people are just shouting about what is happening in Benue. It's unfortunate, but we should not forget that similar serious issues
they have happened in the past and they continue to happen.
And then the response are very poor.
Okay, Uju Eje is on the platform this morning. We are getting ready for the National Assembly members to come in next week. Next week, I think?
No, 19th.
19th. They will still have, they are still enjoying their holidays.
I'm even a bit surprised that they have not deemed it fit, to even hold an emergency session. To have these things are emergencies that we're dealing with. You can imagine children, out of school. Their lecturers are not working, and you know what happens. They say the devil finds work for the idle mind. Exactly, and we've had cases where youths are being mobilized to do all kinds of evil things just because they can't find, an alternative thing to do. This is a very bad, and it keeps recurring. And then look at the frustration. You see, again, we need to look at the youths of this country. They don't have, most of them don't have a sense of patriotism towards this country because they feel they are constantly being shortchanged. They feel that their needs are not being considered while the power play is on and while people are busy looting the treasury. Right. And they are bitter. They are bitter, and we should be careful. A situation where you have the youth, the future leaders of this country, being bitter against the country is not a good omen. We should be careful. Our leaders should call themselves to order and do the needful. And then you look at Medicare, the hospitals. Yesterday, our health correspondent went around and people were groaning in all of the hospitals.
Of course, that's the normal thing. We are so familiar with those ugly incidents in the hospital. Dr. Amisha Nokwe is also on the platform this morning. Amisha, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Hira. Good news, we're out of recession. The economy grew by 0.55% in the second quarter of 2017. First quarter, it was a recession. It reclined 0.52%. We must commend everybody that made it possible. But if you go into the breakdown and analysis of the sectoral contribution to the growth, manufacturing, recline. Agriculture, recline. It contributed less than it did before. The major factor why we were out of recession is crude oil. Increasing production in the Niger Delta and higher prices.
If you ask me, it's superficial, it's artificial, it's something that you cannot, we don't have control over.
Yes, and if again the militant, just this morning I read some of the militant group threatening to draw Nigeria back to zero production level. It simply means if there's any attack in the Niger Delta, we go back straight to recession. The government has talked about the need to diversify, the need to improve agriculture, the need to improve manufacturing, but the data we have shown that they recline. So we need to do more work on these areas in such a way that it will be real growth, not growth propelled by higher commodity prices. And if you look at our population growth rate, is at 2.7% per annum. The economy just grew by 0.55. We need to hit 7 to 10% growth rate so that the economy will grow much more than population growth rate. The implication is that we are producing additional citizens more than we are doing additional goods, more than we are doing additional services, and it's poverty that is being entrenched.
Right, and we'll take a break now and then go to our mailbox to harvest from you your opinion, your suggestions on what you think we can do to get out of where we are, and then we get back to the analysis.
Busted.
They present the popular radio program Political Platform on the Ray Power FM network. Ray Power FM Political Platform, now on television. Keep track of the country's polity and be part of the process as they discuss and put political developments in the country into perspective. It's Ray Power Political Platform on AIT Abuja.
Welcome to the mail segment. I am Ife Nwahobi.
I'm Usaiti Yari. Welcome.
Nigeria is out of recession. Amechi Obochi in Kubwa, Abuja, has a reaction to this latest news. He says, the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, yesterday announced that Nigeria's economy is now out of recession. What a cheering news. But my question to NBS is, what is recession in the first place? Are the hardships and high cost of everything in Nigeria not part of recession? Anyway, it is good that the country is finally out of recession. I therefore urge President Buhari to do everything humanly possible so as to reduce the amount of sufferings in the land, so that the ordinary man on the street will feel the impact of Nigeria's economy slipping out of recession. May God help us not to return back to recession anytime in the future.
In the same vein, Victor in Abuja says, please, platform crew, I want to beg you to use your platform to give an explanation that even a layman can understand by the statement, Nigeria exits recession. I can't understand this because the exchange rate is still high. Prices of commodities are still on the high side. Many people are still owed salaries. Unemployment still looms. God bless Nigeria.
Away from that, on Benue State flood, Christy from Kubwa in Abuja says, when I listened to your analysis over the flood in Benue State, and Ohiria was trying to compare USA with Nigeria, I wondered. In Nigeria, the gap between the rich and the poor is very high, while in the Western world it is not so. The poor and the rich shop together and also bought trains together. But in Nigeria, the issue of no power, poor health care, no food, flood, bad roads, poor housing condition, lack of education, fuel scarcity, and so many other negative issues are only suffered by the poor. All these have nothing to do with the rich. Until they change the system, all issues of negligence will continue. May God help the poor.
More reactions on yesterday's analysis. Joel in Lagos says, our government always refers to American policies and way of politics whenever it's beneficial to them. But when it comes to the lives of the citizens, government looks elsewhere. We all saw on the TV President Trump and family identify with the people of Texas. But unfortunately, many people were killed in their camps by Boko Haram. Likewise, flood in Benue. Our universities are on strike and the doctors are sitting at home, since government officials can use our collective resources to fly abroad and send their children to school over there. They feel unconcerned. All these are just indicators that lives are not sacred in this nation. Majority of government policies revolve around themselves and politics. No wonder there are agitations everywhere. I believe we need restructuring of both our mindset and our political system, and this should take effect now more than ever. God bless Nigeria.
More reactions coming in. Henry Ewunono in Gariki, Abuja says, I don't agree with yesterday's writer who picked holes in Dr. Amechi's observations that a brief stopover at Makurdi en route Daura could have provided the much-needed succor and solid reassurance of the Nigerian presidency to the flood victims. Psychologists will always posit that early psychosocial support, especially from higher quarters, promotes healing and engenders a sense of security to disaster victims. Let us all refrain from referring to every observation as politically motivated from hindpoint of opposition, or see AIT and Ray Power as the face of opposition. Nigeria belongs to all of us, and freedom of expression is a constitutionally guaranteed fundamental human right.
Adekola in Lagos writes on national unity. He says, "Dear crew, over the weekend while watching the Super Eagles game away from my home, in the midst of over 100 people from different ethnic and religious background, all we wanted was a win for Nigeria, which was accompanied with joy and celebrations. This simply means that there is still that spirit of unity among ordinary citizens of this country. While I plead with politicians to stop sowing seeds of discord among us for their selfish interest, I enjoin every citizen of this country, especially the youths, to look beyond these 90 minutes of unity during football matches by extending it to other key areas of our polity, which include insisting that our leaders do the right thing, irrespective of their tribe and religion, and also account for their deeds afterwards. I am pretty sure that if we remove sentiments, things will be much better for this country. God bless Nigeria."
And that's all on the mail segment. Do keep your contributions coming, stating your name and where you're writing us from to politicalplatform@yahoo.com. Bust it!
They present the popular radio program Political Platform on the Ray Power FM network. Ray Power FM Political Platform, now on television. Keep track of the country's polity and be part of the process as they discuss and put political developments in the country into perspective. It's Ray Power Political Platform on AIT Abuja.
For your mails, we want to quickly appreciate you for all the mails you send in, your thoughts, your opinion, and the way you have, taking the issues, some of the issues we raise seriously, and for also raising fresh issues each time you write to us. And we want to apologize to those whose mails we are unable to take. Please don't be discouraged. Continue to write to us, and also have it behind the mind that even if we do not read your mails, they give us a lot of insight into how you feel, and I can tell you that it will sometimes shape our own understanding of some of the issues that are on top of the burner. The Federal Executive Council meeting will not hold today. Do you know why? Well, the Federal Executive Council meeting holds Wednesdays, usually. It calls for all the ministers and the president sitting, all the vice president sitting. The president is not around, chairing the meeting. But the Information Minister, Lai Mohammed, has said that today's meeting will not hold. There have been other instances where the meetings will not hold, and we are given excuses why the meetings will not hold. But some persons will want to ask, what is the importance of that Federal Executive Council meeting? Before we begin to talk about the importance of it, today's meeting will not hold because there are no memos. They were not tidied up by the ministers because of the Salah holidays. When I read it, I said this is like a kindergarten excuse that a government will be giving to people why a major meeting of the cabinet will not take place. Were we not ready for these holidays? I mean, since the beginning of the year, it is not even like any other emergency holidays. The Muslim holidays, the Christian holidays, we know them when they will come up, and for a very long time we always get ready and get prepared for it. However, the president is still in Daura. Yesterday he met with the president of Niger Republic in Daura. A lot of people who couldn't go to London to see the president are all trooping to Daura to have a handshake with the president and felicitate with him. The holiday is still going on as far as the issues are concerned. The Federal Executive Council meetings, the excuse for the Federal Executive Council meeting not holding, according to the Information Minister, will probably not go down as a very serious excuse for many Nigerians who will observe it. But we'll just wait and see. But Dr. Amechi Anakwe and I were in the villa for a very long time covering this Federal Executive Council meeting. And we saw what happened on every Wednesday, and we saw the memos being presented by the ministers, how they talk about it, and the debriefing after the meeting. Dr. Amechi Anakwe is like in the last couple of months, this Federal Executive Council meeting has not been the Federal Executive Council meeting that we covered.
Since 1999, the Federal Executive Council has had deviated from his core functions and assigned to himself other functions that by law should have been handled by some other person. Not since 1999, but since the enactment of the National Procurement Act. That act says the body that should approve contracts is a National Procurement Council. But Obasanjo, that initiated the move, refused to constitute the National Procurement Council. The man that succeeded him, late Yaradua, refused to constitute the National Procurement Act.
Though the law is there.
Even though the law says this is the man that should do it. Now, Goodluck Jonathan also failed to do that. And there were promises by the APC that within the first 100 days, they will constitute that National Procurement Council. They have failed to do that. Why? And
what we have seen is that the Federal Executive Council, or in law, what they call the Executive Council of the Federation, that's actually the proper law, yes, the proper name. What we have seen is that it has arrogated this, to itself the powers of the Procurement Council, and it is the one awarding all the contracts illegally.
Now, when you say the person that awards will get something in behind, the 10% kickback in the past, I'm beginning to suspect that it is still in play. If not, why would the executive refuse to obey the laws of our land by setting up this council? The National Executive Council is just the highest policy formulation body in the country. It does not have any reason to be going into contracts approval. If there is flood, the cabinet will constitute an emergency session. The next day, in a Senate climb, they will say emergency meeting. We have flood in Makurdi.
What do we do? How do we solve it?
Which policy measures should we bring in in terms of reactions, in terms of this? But it is not the responsibility of the Federal Executive Council, but because it's completely looking elsewhere. They said the president is incorruptible, he's a man of integrity, and I agree totally with them. He had exemplified it in the past in the offices he held. But he will prove that right if he constitutes the National Procurement Council, a council that draws membership from various interest groups in the country. The labor, even journalists, civil society, technocrats, so that people coming from their background, the transparency will be clear to everybody, or else they will continue to award contracts to process and hope to get kickbacks in return.
This thing will not, I'm not a prophet of doom, but I can tell you, Amechi's hopes, like so many Nigerians, will not work. Why? We have a presidential system, very heavy, with ministers who are not elected into any office, who feel they don't owe Nigerians anything. It's not like a parliamentary system where the various secretaries as ministers are members of the parliament, and then other elected representatives in that parliament will challenge them every day. You need to see the British or Australia or Canadian parliament on television on various hot issues. But in Nigeria, there's this laid-back attitude. You sit back. Just the heavy executive council, the presidency dictates what happens. Nigerians continue to suffer. Even the various statistics the Bureau of Statistics is talking about is not reliable because according to so many of their staff, you will be given 40,000 naira to do a survey for 6 weeks. Where will that take you? The truth of the matter is, unless we get serious, unless we change the system of government at the federal level, we can never get it right. We've been complaining in the past 20, 30 years. We are still inside the same cycle. It's unfortunate.
Oh yeah, yesterday I spoke about the failed moral rebirth initiatives of government in over 30 years, beginning from Obasanjo's Jaji Declaration in 1978 to Buhari's Why when he was Minister of State, to the current one we have, to MAMSA, and to the change begins with you, which the current administration also launched. The totality of it is that those initiatives failed, and those in government who are supposed to spearhead it are not queuing to it. I do not see a situation where we have doctors on strike, we have ASU on strike, our students are back home, our children are back home, and yet the one of the highest organ of government that's supposed to sit and provide solutions that will help us resolve some of these issues says memos are not prepared. If memos are not prepared, do we need memos to address the issue of ASU? Do we need memos to address the issue of doctors that are on strike? Do we need memos to address the issue of flood in Makodi and so many other problems? We are just a nation where our leaders are not leading by example.
Well. And again, you look at it. If they talk about the memos, I know that the public holidays were on Friday and Monday. So what happened to Monday to Thursday before the Friday public holiday that the ministers could not write their memos, knowing fully well that they would have to be on holiday on those 2 days? I think that we're trying to turn this country into a banana republic where anything goes. And that is what we must guard against. We're taking too many things for granted. I pray that we don't live to see a bitter revolution in this country.
Well, I think what we need to do as a people is to tell our government, those we have elected, those who were appointed, they need to do the right thing, the appropriate thing. That's what we're trying to do here. Redirect the government attention to what is required of them. Unfortunately, no matter how much you shout and make, it does appear that nobody is learning any lesson. No matter how much angry you are, some persons say Nigerians are not sufficiently angry. That's why they are not taking it on their leaders during elections, and that's why they also don't value their voter card. And that even Nigerians themselves, the followers, hold the voters card and look for the cheapest person to give the cheapest money. They even with a loaf of bread, 2,000, 3,000, and they vote. They don't know, and it takes us back to what Bayo Boduri was talking about: the orientation that is required and the need for everybody to be on the same page in holding Nigeria. There's a time we need to really begin to look at ourselves, look away from those who are in government, and begin to query the followership, because the followership is a key problem. When we expect that somebody will come from the moon and do the magic, meanwhile it comes from amongst us. Somebody told me, I don't know how to rationalize that, whether it's proper to rationalize it that way, that anybody who has not stolen in Nigeria, it is because he has not had the opportunity to steal. That many Nigerians, including those who are shouting on top of their voices, if you give them opportunity, they will steal. And that if you are pointing accusing fingers at those in government, then you have to look at the four fingers that's pointing in the direction. And they tell you, go to your mechanic workshop and see what they do with your spare parts and your car. Simple, ordinary repair of your car. Even the akara seller will want to reduce the number, the quantity you want to give, the bulk you want to give to you, and so many other things. The Nigerian psyche need to be overhauled.
And that is where reorientation will do it. They say the followers of a country deserves the leadership they get. So if we have bad leaders, they are products of the larger. So we need to work on the followership to throw up better leaders.
Well, you have your own take on it through political platform at yahoo.com. You can share with us, but we'll leave you with Which Way Nigeria by Sonny Okosun.
Busted.